A customer brought in a 2015 BMW 335 II last month. Temp gauge in the red, steam everywhere, engine wouldn't restart. The diagnosis? Warp cylinder head from severe overheating. Repair cost? Just over $5,000. The worst part? It was completely preventable. He'd ignored basic cooling system maintenance for over 100,000 miles. Your BMW's cooling system isn't just important, it's critical. Skip the maintenance and you're looking at blown head gaskets, cracked heads, and total engine failure. But here's the reality. Proper cooling system care is straightforward and cheap compared to the alternative. Today, I'm walking you through exactly how to keep your BMW's cooling system running perfectly for the life of the vehicle. No catastrophic failures, no expensive repairs, just proven maintenance that works. And if you're serious about long-term BMW ownership, hit that subscribe button because we cover real BMW maintenance, not just theory. Let's get into it. First thing you need to understand, BMW cooling systems are under more stress than most people realize. Modern BMW engines run hotter by design, tighter tolerances, higher compression, turbocharged setups. That means the cooling system works harder than it did 20 years ago. When coolant gets old or contaminated, it stops protecting. That's when the damage starts. Corrosion, deposits, failing gaskets, and overheating. I've worked on BMWs long enough to see the same pattern. Owners who stay on top of cooling system maintenance rarely have major problems. Owners who skip it, they're the ones paying thousands for repairs that didn't need to happen. So what does proper cooling system care actually look like? It's not complicated, but it does require consistency. You're going to hear a lot about intervals, inspections, and specific procedures. Don't skip steps. Every part of the cooling system matters, and ignoring one area puts stress on the others. Number 1, replace coolant every 30,000 miles or 3 years. Yes, BMW says the coolant lasts longer. Some manuals claim up to 10 years or more. But that's marketing, not reality. By year 3, coolant starts breaking down. It becomes acidic. The corrosion inhibitors wear out. And once that happens, the system is no longer protected. Acidic coolant attacks aluminum components, and your BMW has plenty of aluminum in the engine block, cylinder head, radiator, and water pump housing. It also degrades rubber hoses and seals. I've seen water pumps fail early, thermostats stick, and expansion tanks crack, all because the coolant was old and corrosive. Fresh coolant costs about $40 to $60 for a complete system refill. A new cylinder head? Over $5,000 installed. The math is simple. Change your coolant every 30,000 miles or 3 years, whichever comes first. Use only BMW-approved coolant or a high-quality equivalent that meets BMW specifications. Don't mix coolant types, and never use universal green coolant in a BMW. Stick with what the system was designed for. Number 2, bleed the cooling system properly after every service. This is where a lot of DIers and even some shops mess up. BMWs are notorious for trapping air in the cooling system, and air pockets cause hot spots. Hot spots lead to overheating, even if the coolant level looks fine. Here's what happens. Air doesn't transfer heat like liquid does. When air gets trapped near the cylinder head or in the heater core, those areas run hotter than they should. Over time, that extra heat warps metal, damages gaskets, and stresses components. Bleeding isn't optional, it's critical. BMW cooling systems have bleeder screws specifically for this reason. Some models have one bleeder screw near the top of the engine. Others have 2 or 3. Always consult your service manual for the exact location and procedure because it varies by model. The basic process involves running the engine with the bleeders open, letting air escape, then closing them once coolant flows without bubbles. Some BMWs also require running the heat at full blast during the bleed process to purge air from the heater core. Don't skip this step. And don't assume the system is bled just because you filled the expansion tank. If you're not confident doing this yourself, Have a shop handle it. A bad bleed job can cause overheating that looks like a major failure, but is really just trapped air. Number 3. Inspect hoses and clamps every oil change. Cooling system hoses don't last forever. Heat, pressure, and age break them down. A hose failure on the highway means instant overheating and potential engine damage. The good news? Hoses give warning signs before they fail. Check for cracks, especially near the ends where hoses connect to fittings. Look for soft spots, places where the rubber feels squishy instead of firm. Check for swelling or bulges, and pay attention to any weeping or seepage around clamp areas. If you see any of these signs, replace the hose immediately. Don't wait. Also check the clamps themselves. BMW uses spring clamps and worm drive clamps depending on the location. Spring clamps can lose tension over time, and worm drive clamps can corrode. If a clamp looks rusty or weak, replace it. A $3 clamp can prevent a $5,000 repair. Most BMWs need new cooling hoses around the 80,000 to 100,000 mile mark, sometimes sooner if the car sees a lot of heat cycling or sits for long periods. Upper and lower radiator hoses are the most common replacements, but don't forget about smaller hoses, like the ones running to the heater core, throttle body, or turbocharger if your car has one. They all matter. If you're enjoying this video so far, make sure you're subscribed. We're covering real-world BMW maintenance you won't find in the owner's manual. Number 4. Replace the expansion tank before it cracks. This is a big one, and it catches a lot of BMW owners off guard. The plastic expansion tank, sometimes called the coolant reservoir, is under constant pressure and heat. Over time, the plastic becomes brittle. Eventually it cracks, and when it does, you lose coolant fast. I've seen expansion tanks fail at 60,000 miles. I've seen them last 120,000, but I've never seen one last forever. The problem is you don't get much warning. One day the tank looks fine. The next day there's a crack along the seam or near a fitting, and coolant is pouring onto the ground. Replace the expansion tank every 60,000 to 80,000 miles as preventive maintenance. Don't wait for it to fail. A new tank costs $50 to $100. Getting towed because your tank split on the highway costs a lot more. And if the engine overheats because of it, you're looking at serious damage. When you replace the tank, also replace the pressure cap. The cap is part of the system's pressure management, and an old cap can cause issues even if the tank is new. Use OEM BMW parts or high-quality aftermarket brands like Rain or Genuine. Cheap tanks crack early. Don't save $20 and regret it later. Number 5. Replace the thermostat every 100,000 miles. The thermostat controls coolant flow based on engine temperature. When it's closed, coolant circulates only inside the engine to warm up quickly. When it opens, coolant flows through the radiator to cool down. It's a simple part, but when it fails, the consequences aren't simple at all. A stuck closed thermostat causes immediate overheating because coolant can't reach the radiator. A stuck open thermostat makes the engine run too cold, which reduces efficiency, increases wear, and can trigger check engine lights. Either way, you're dealing with problems. BMW thermostats typically last around 100,000 miles, but some fail earlier depending on coolant quality and heat cycle. If your engine takes longer than usual to reach operating temperature, or if it overheats for no clear reason, the thermostat is a likely culprit. Replace it before it leaves you stranded. Always use OEM thermostats or equivalent quality parts. Cheap thermostats fail early and often don't regulate temperature accurately. When you replace the thermostat, also replace the housing gasket or O-ring. Reusing old gaskets leads to leaks. And remember to bleed the system afterward. Thermostats are located at high points in the cooling system where air loves to get trapped. Number 6. Check the water pump and replace it on schedule. The water pump circulates coolant through the entire system. If it fails, coolant stops moving and the engine overheats in minutes. Water pump failure is one of the most common cooling system problems on BMWs, and it's also one of the most preventable. Most BMW water pumps are good for 60,000 to 100,000 miles, replacing the water pump, use OEM or high-quality aftermarket parts. Water pumps are not the place to cheap out. And if your BMW has a belt-driven pump, inspect the belt and tensioner at the same time. A worn belt can cause the pump to fail prematurely. Number 7. Keep the radiator clean inside and out. Your radiator does the actual cooling. Hot coolant flows through it, air passes over the fins, and heat dissipates. But radiators get dirty, and dirty radiators don't cool efficiently. External debris is the most obvious issue. Leaves, bugs, dirt, and road grime build up on the fins and block airflow. This is especially common if you park under trees or drive on dusty roads. Once a month, take a look at your radiator through the grill. If it's caked with debris, clean it. Use a garden hose on low pressure or compressed air from the engine side to blow debris out. Don't use high-pressure water. It can bend the delicate aluminum fins. If the fins are already bent, you can straighten them carefully with a fin comb, but be gentle. Damaged fins reduce cooling capacity. Internal contamination is harder to see, but just as important. Old coolant leaves deposits inside the radiator tubes. These deposits restrict flow and reduce cooling efficiency. That's another reason why regular coolant changes matter. They flush out contaminants before they build up. If your radiator is more than 10 years old or has over 150,000 miles, consider replacing it as preventive maintenance. A new radiator costs $200 to $500 depending on the model. It's cheaper than rebuilding an engine. Number 8. Monitor coolant level monthly. Once a month, check the coolant level in the expansion tank. When the engine is cold, the level should be between the minimum and maximum marks. If it drops consistently, you have a leak. Common leak points include hose connections, the water pump, the radiator, and the expansion tank. Never open the system when hot. Wait until the engine is completely cold. Always use the correct coolant type and keep a bottle of premixed BMW coolant in your garage. Number 9. Replace the radiator cap every 60,000 miles. The cap maintains system pressure, usually 15 to 20 psi. That pressure raises the boiling point of coolant. A weak cap can't hold pressure, which means the coolant boils at a lower temperature and causes overheating. Signs of a bad cap include coolant loss with no visible leaks, overheating under load, or a collapsed upper radiator hose. A new cap costs $15 to $30. Replace it every 60,000 miles or during major cooling system work. Number 10. Avoid excessive short trips and warm up properly. Short trips, anything under 10 minutes, don't let the engine reach full operating temperature. Moisture builds up in the oil and coolant, causing internal corrosion and sludge. If most of your driving is short trips, stay diligent about coolant changes and inspections. When you start the car, give it 30 seconds before driving. Drive gently until the temperature gauge reaches normal. Don't rev hard when cold, and avoid long idle periods. Now, let's talk about overheating emergencies. If your temperature gauge climbs, turn off the air conditioning and turn the heater to maximum with the fan on high. The heater core pulls heat away from the engine. If the gauge keeps climbing, pull over immediately. Turn off the engine and let it cool for at least 30 minutes. Once cool, check the coolant level. If it's low, look for visible leaks. If you have coolant, add some and restart. Watch the gauge closely. If it stays normal, drive carefully to a shop. If it climbs again, call for a tow. A tow costs $100. A new engine costs $10,000. Here's the bottom line. Your BMW's cooling system will last as long as you take care of it. Replace coolant every 30,000 miles. Bleed the system properly. Inspect hoses and clamps. Replace the expansion tank and cap on schedule. Monitor coolant level monthly. Stay on top of water pump and thermostat replacements. These steps aren't complicated or expensive compared to the alternative. Cooling system maintenance is cheap insurance for a BMW. Do it right, and you'll avoid the $5,000 repairs that come from neglect. If you found this helpful, make sure to check out our video on German maintenance secrets that help BMWs last over 1,000,000 miles. And if you're serious about keeping your BMW running strong, hit subscribe. We're covering real-world maintenance that actually works.